What's good, everybody? Welcome back to Universal Teas. It's the People's Podcast with your girl Toya, and this episode is called It's Right in Front of You. So, first of all, shout out to y'all for finding this video because the devil tried it, okay? We was having some technical difficulties over here, figured it out, and here we are. But this episode is called It's Right in Front of You because what I've been dealing with lately is ruminating over where it is that I see myself, the goals that I want to accomplish, the other side of the work that I need to do. And so I've also been realizing that I've been acting out of my anxiety. I've been allowing fear to have the microphone in my life. I've been allowing doubt and negative self-talk to have the microphone in my life. And as I kind of pray and I sit with myself and I'm in this space and this idea of self-awareness, I got 3 messages, right? I got 3 messages from God. And those were, the first one is don't do too much. The second one was it's right in front of you, the title of this episode. And the third one was stay in your lane. And so I decided to kind of pull all of those together and talk about all of those things because when we have this idea of wanting to be better and we haven't even solidified it. So I know that I want to be better at money management. I want to be better at friendship. I want to be better in work. I want to make more money. We think about all the ways in which we want to be better, that we start doing too much, that we start trying to change the way that we naturally do things, the way that we naturally analyze things. And that's not always what you need to do because honestly, that's going to bring on more pressure to you that you didn't need to have in the first place. So when I say don't do too much, or when God told me not to do too much, it was like, girl, how you going to pray to get more money and you can't manage the money that you got? Or like, girl, how you gonna pray that you can do all this traveling, but you're not maintaining what you have at home? And so don't do too much. To me, if I analyze it from my own life, really just means to keep the pace with what you have. Learn to maintain what's right in front of you, right? And the lesson or the thing we need to learn, because we're always on this journey of learning, the thing that we need to learn is most oftentimes right in front of us. Even with this, which just came to me, the lesson that I needed to learn is to see it through. And if you follow me on Instagram or even on Facebook, you'll see that message, see it through, see that vision through. And I literally was just tested in that because with the technical difficulties, I really wanted to say, I'm not doing this week. But the lesson that I needed to learn was literally right in front of me before I got on this microphone to share this message with you all. So the focus that was in front of me, or the thing that I needed to put my focus on, wasn't the podcast per se. It was the energy and the internal self-talk and the internal encouragement that it takes for me to still see it through. You know, learning a lesson of commitment, learning a lesson of discipline, learning a lesson of consistency, of honoring your truth, of doing the things that you said you were going to do. That was what I needed to learn in that moment. The message or the thing that you need to learn or conquer or overcome is always right in front of you. And that lesson is going to get you to where you want to go. Because let's say I have, or if and when, because it always happens again, I have technical difficulties in the future when I'm in a stadium or I'm in a speaking engagement. You have the lesson, or you have the internal clock, you have the internal toolbox to see it through because you've done it on a smaller scale before. So excuse me, in this instance, when we talk about right in front of you, this is a lesson that I didn't have to learn in real time, okay? And so also when I think about this idea of what you need to learn being right in front of you, I'm thinking about the new year, right? Because this is the first time y'all done seen me in 2024. But when we think about the new year, we always think about a New Year's resolution, or we think about who we want to be, what we want to accomplish by the end of the year, whether it be a weight loss goal, whether it be a goal for having a new job, making X amount of money, saving X amount of money. We think about new year, new me, but in all actuality, in order to get to that, your focus should be on what's in front of you. So maybe not new year, new me, maybe it's new month, new me. Maybe it's new week, new me, new day, new me. So every day you need to look at what it is that's right in front of you that's going to lead you to that place, okay? So when we talk about success, when we talk about growth, when we talk about change and enhancement and improvement and development, we have to really, really, really take ourselves back and be more present. And that is something that I am learning, is the importance of being present. Every time I think about, oh my God, I'm really anxious, I'm really upset, I'm really angry, I am either stuck and angry about something that did not happen the way I wanted to do, or I'm anxious wondering what's going to happen in the future when the thing that I need to conquer is right in front of me. What do I need to do right now to help me to get to where I want to be? Yes? So one thing that I notice when we talk about what's in front of us, you can probably say, like, it's hard for me to be present. It's hard for me to kind of think about the positive, but it's not hard for us to be present. And I'm going to tell you why. So we tend to, and maybe it's just me, I'm going to stop saying we because clearly y'all got it together. But a lot of times we are able to focus on a problem that's in front of us. You can sit here and say, like, yo, I ain't got no money. I can sit here and say, like, dang, I don't know a whole lot about finances. I can sit here and say, like, dang, I need to do this, or, oh my God, I can't believe that this is happening. You can focus on what's in front of you when it's a problem, but you have to be able to shift your mind and shift your thinking and shift how you perceive things to focus on the solution that's right in front of you, because both of them are there. It's just making the decision to focus on the problem or making the decision to focus on the solution. But both are right in front of you. And we tend to ignore it because we're focused on what we want to happen or what we expected the outcome to be or how we want this thing to end. You know what I'm saying? And a lot of times I'm thinking about, of course, I ain't never been in no marriage yet. But I'm thinking about, let's say you're going through struggles in your marriage, right? And there's talks about divorce, and in your mind, you're like, I just really want this marriage to work. Or even in a relationship, like, I want this relationship to work. But you tend to forget about what it is right now that you need to do to get there. Maybe you need to communicate more openly. Maybe you need to be more honest. Maybe you need to operate in your truth right now. That is the issue that's in front of you. You know what I'm saying? And we focus on, I want this to work, but I love you, but I don't want you to leave. But what you're doing right now, what you're paying attention to, how you're operating and handling the situation that is right in front of you, does that align with what you want? And sometimes those things are scary. They're uncomfortable, actually all the time. And I was listening to like a motivational speech earlier this morning. If you want to, and I know y'all have probably heard this before, if you want to become someone you've never been, you have to do something you've never done. And the unknown is always uncomfortable. So when we're talking about becoming something or I can't focus on that, or I really don't know what this is, I don't know how to be present, you can presently focus on your problem. You can presently focus on what you don't have, what you don't like, what you don't want. You have to learn how to change your thinking to what it is that's in front of me. How is it that I need to change this? The step that is in front of me is this. If I want to save myself $1,000 by the end of the month, it starts with one. So do you need to spend this $10 on this 10-piece wings with blue cheese and cheese sauce for your fries and a small Coke? Or do you need to put that money to the side and go figure out what's in your house already? It starts with the step that's right in front of you. Or are you going to say, I really want this thing, but instead of buying it, I'm going to put the money that I would spend on that in a savings account? You really have to think about the step that's in front of you, not just ruminate on the problem that's in front of you. And that takes a lot of honesty. That takes a lot of consistency. That takes a lot of discipline and willpower. You know what I'm saying? And so we really have to think, shift our thinking is what I'm trying to say, to what it is that we can do to solve the problem versus address it. There's a difference between naming a problem and addressing and rectifying it. Okay, so when we think about who we are, what we have, where we are, and where we want to be, what we want to do, what we want to become, and what we want to have, there's this area in the middle. And I don't think a lot of people play the middle. Like, we try to convince ourselves, or I kind of really get down on myself because I'm like, if I'm not at my goal, you know what I'm saying, I'm not doing what I need to do, or I'm not in the right position, or I'm not in the right space. When in all actuality, the good stuff happens in the middle. The lessons happen in the middle. You build yourself up in the middle. And so what we have to do is we have to address the area in between where we are and where we want to go by committing to the work in the middle. Now, here's the thing about commitment. Commitment is something that you do no matter what. Y'all know the vow: sickness and health, richer for poor, better or worse. You are committed no matter what happens. So when you commit to what happens in the middle, even though you don't know what that is, you don't know what that looks like, you don't know what you're going to be up against in the middle, you're committing to the work in the middle, because you can commit to the end because of how pretty it is, of how glorious it is, of the vision that you see is so beautiful. You see yourself there. They tell you if you can see it in your mind, you can bring it into fruition. But we forget to name that there's a whole lot of shit in the middle that we have to address. We have to sit in a room with. We have to make sure that we acknowledge and commit to whatever exists in the middle. You know what I'm saying? And our problem is this is where we lose people. When we talk about committing to the middle, because it sounds good. Everybody loves the story of, I went through this. Everybody loves a struggle story. That's why some people be lying about being from the hood and they really not. Because we love a good struggle story, right? We love to talk about what happened in between where we were and where we want to be. Oh, I had to hustle. I had to do this. I had to do that. We love those stories. But we lose people when it comes to doing what it takes to create those stories, to build those stories. Because a lot of times we think that it's just going to motivate people. But you have to understand that's people's lives. Those are things that we actually have to commit and navigate to and not give up. Giving up is the easiest thing. Saying that I was going to do this next week was the easiest thing, was the easiest option. But baby, I was in here trying a second computer, trying to turn my computer off, turn the camera off. Baby, listen, a mess. But we lose people when it comes to doing that work that's in the middle, because the minute that something gets uncomfortable, the minute that something calls us out, the minute that something shows a character flaw in who we are, the minute that somebody reacts differently than we planned in our mind, we ready to tap out. We ready to say that this isn't for us. This isn't what I need to do. This isn't my journey. This isn't my lane. This isn't my niche. But really, it is for you. But you're not allowing yourself the space and time and opportunity to be built because you're scared of what's going to happen in the middle when it's not cute. You know what I'm saying? Think about when you getting your wig laid. You can't want this lace laid melted in the middle and you afraid of the bald cap. You can't want long, luscious, beautiful locks, but you scared of the ugly phase. You can't be afraid of what's in the middle. Okay? And I think that we lose people when it comes to committing to what's in the middle, because for whatever reason, we feel like we get to decide what we can do in the middle. Like, yeah, I want to get to this goal. Yeah, I want to grow in this area, but I ain't trying to do this, or I don't want to go through that, or that's too messy. We get to decide, like, this ain't up to you. You know what I'm saying? You get to commit to the middle and you get to do the work, whatever that may be. You don't get to decide what the work is. That's just like coming into a class or signing up for a course and you saying like, you read the syllabus, or before you even read the syllabus, you get an assignment and you like, I don't really like that assignment. That one was too hard. Let's do something else. You don't get to decide what's in the middle. You either committed or you not. You either in it or you not. You either willing to get dirty and ugly or you're not. Because the middle is dark, it's gray, it's not black or white. We try to say that, oh, I like when things are black and white. But in order to get from black to white, you got to go through the gray area. You know what I'm saying? And so we have to learn and know that I don't get to decide what I have to do along the way, but I know I want to do it. I don't get to decide what it looks like for me to have a talk show or have an award-winning podcast or to go and do these different things. But I can't skip the things that I have to learn in the middle. And if you're anything like me, I hate not being good at stuff. I hate not knowing things. I hate struggling to do things. And so I can't skip that part though. Because if you want to be great, you have to learn the middle, because at some point someone is going to come along. And this is the thing. When you really want to be great, you also have to take on the role of being impactful. You also have to take on the role of being inspirational. You also have to take on the role that people are going to want to know your story and know your journey and know how you did it. So you have to learn throughout the middle so that the people that are coming after you are able to look to you for guidance. You know what I'm saying? And so, to whom much is given, much is requested is the quote that comes to my mind, is that, yes, you are given gifts. You are given talents. We all are. But the minute you decide that you want to conquer them, the minute that you commit to the middle, the minute that you decide that I am going to get there, it has to be by any means necessary. I'm thinking about Martin Luther King. Y'all know Martin Luther King, they just passed. That man committed to nonviolence, not because it was convenient. And when things got rough, when they rolled up with the dogs and the hoses, he didn't say, all right, now, and under these circumstances, we about to turn up on them. You know what I mean? It's the commitment to the middle. He didn't know what the middle would look like, but he was committed to whatever it took. You know what I'm saying? He was committed to whatever it took to get to the vision that he saw, the way that he saw it. He didn't alter his vision. He changed the way that he handled what showed up in the middle. And that's what we have to learn. We have to learn that if I'm committed, that might mean some things have to change. You know, and the more that you learn about who you are, and we're going to get to that in a second because I didn't tell y'all, but I will, 2024 is a year of self-awareness for Universal Teas, but the more that you commit to a vision, or the middle, get into a vision, the more self-aware you have to be. Because a lot of what we deal with has to be internal. It's not external. Yeah? We don't get to on this quest to becoming, obtaining, fulfilling what it is that we want. You don't get to write the journey. You just blindly commit because you know what the outcome is going to be. And I say blindly because, again, like I said, that middle area is gray, but you're committed. You have to commit to the middle. And so when I thought about the word journey, because I said you don't get to write out the journey, I was like, well, what is a journey? We talk about I'm on a journey to forgiveness. I'm on a journey to self-love. I'm on a lock journey. I'm on we always are saying that we're on a journey to something, but a journey is the act of traveling from one place to another. That's it. So if you're committing to a journey, you are simply saying that you are going to travel from one place to another. You don't get to decide what that travel looks like. You don't get to decide what shows up as you travel. You don't get to decide who's going to stay to travel with you. You don't get to decide who's going to leave to travel with you. But you have to know that you're on a journey. And nothing is certain but the outcome. Nothing is certain but what it is that you want to get to. And yes, we should always keep our vision and our goal in a place where we can reach it, but the focus should be on what's in front of you. What is it that I'm having to tackle as I go on this journey? And I thought about when we're thinking about the middle, we need to know 4 things. So when we think about that journey in the middle, we probably think about physical things. There is nothing physical that you need to put all of your thought in when you're traveling through this middle, because the middle gets ugly, it gets scary, it gets uncertain. Things happen randomly that you didn't expect and you have to bounce back. But there are 4 things that are going to happen in the middle. And if you can know and understand and get to know yourself enough to conquer these 4 things that happen in the middle, I call it the 4 T's. You're going to be certain that these things are going to come up on your journey. Learning how to deal with overcoming those, which are not physical things. It's not dealing with a baby daddy. It's not dealing with a boss who doesn't understand you. It's not even having a difficult conversation per se. It's not the actual physical combat. The 4 things that you have to know that you are going to address in the middle of this journey to better, to growth, to development, to success. You're going to experience tragedy, trauma, transitions, and truth. Those are the 4 things that you need to worry about in the middle. And I'll say those again. You need to learn how to deal with tragedy, because those are going to come. Whether you lose a loved one, whether you lose all your money, you know what I'm saying? Whether you lose a friend along the way, tragedy is going to exist somewhere along the journey. Trauma. You're going to have to address your trauma. Your trauma is going to show up. You're going to be triggered by your trauma along this journey. You want a healthy relationship, but that person, as healthy as they are for you, is still going to trigger your trauma. How are you going to address the trauma instead of your partner? How are you going to address the trauma instead of the friendship? How are you going to address the trauma instead of the person that's in front of you? We really think that our issues are with something external. But my issue with a certain situation not happening is the trauma that it triggered in me. It's not the actual situation. It's not what the person did. It's not the person themselves. It's the trauma that they brought up for me. So that's the second thing. So we have tragedy, we have trauma. The third thing is transition. In this journey and in this middle space or phase, we are always going to experience transition. You're going to transition from one place to another, one partner to another, one mindset to another. You might transition from one city to another. You might transition, I don't know. You might transition from one idea to another, one mental shift to another. So transitions are always happening, and you can't let that bring you down. You can't let that make you drop out of your commitment to the middle. I know that at some point in my life, I'm going to have to experience a transition. So what in me do I need to secure? What traits, what character traits do I need to develop or strengthen or get rid of? Because we don't have all good character traits in order to handle transitions in my life. Transitions in relationships, transitions in friends, transitions in spaces. What is it that I need to have internally to handle transitions? Because they're always going to happen. And the last thing that you need to handle in the middle is truth. And this is one that I didn't realize was so vital until recently. As you try to grow, as you try to succeed, as you try to move forward in your life, what is true about you is always going to show up. You have to be able to face your truths. And I don't even mean just like, yeah, it's true that I'm from Chicago. No, like the truth of your character flaws. And you don't have to put them on Front Street, but at some point, your truth is going to have to be addressed. You're going to have to love yourself through your truths. You're going to have to operate in your truth. You're going to have to sometimes forgive yourself for your truth. But what is true cannot be changed. So it's going to be really important that you know that on this journey, what is true is always going to show up. It's always going to be exposed. It's always going to be put on Front Street. That's why a lot of these celebrities, and I ain't going to say no names about, you know what I'm saying, no music producers or no pastors or nothing, but truth is going to show up when you least expect it. You can think you on a roll, but you're going to have to address your truths at some point. You can't hide from what's true. Truth never hides. It might hibernate, but it ain't hiding. So you're going to have to be able to address your truth, right? And so knowing those 4 T's, tragedy, trauma, transition, and truth are going to show up along your journey. You really need to figure out internally who you need to be to address those, to face them head on, to be able to acknowledge them for what they are. Like, this isn't an issue I got with you, friend. This is an issue with my truth, or this is an issue with my trauma. This is an issue with the transition that we might be going through. The issue isn't you. And that's when you give people grace to be who they are. That's when you give situations the ability to fade out if they need to. That's when you allow yourself to step into greatness, to elevate yourself, because I need to transition from this mental space to a more elevated mental space. That's how you conquer the middle. That's how you conquer the anxiety. That's how you conquer the discomfort, is you know that I am now addressing truth. When you love someone, when you love a job, when you love a situation that you're in, but you experience a bump along the way, it's easy for us to say, you are causing me this pain, when really it's your trauma that's causing you pain. And you need to address your trauma, not the person. Because the person could have your best interest at heart, but they triggered your trauma. And that's where you are. You're in the middle. And when we're talking about friends, when we're talking about partners, when we're talking about careers, when we're talking about decisions, when we're talking about creative opportunities, we need to know and understand that it's not that two people have to be the same. And I think this is what they mean when they say opposites attract. The two people don't need to be the same. The two people need to be clear on how they address the 4 T's in the middle of journeys. Everybody's on a journey, and everybody might be addressing something else. You know what I'm saying? I could be in a battle with my truth while you're in a battle with your trauma. But we need to figure out how to address those, not each other. You know? Maybe I'm just talking about me. Maybe I'm just telling my business, but we do need to figure out those 4 T's. Like, which of these, is it tragedy, truth, trauma, or transition? Which of them am I at war with, because it can't be the person? Yeah. And so how we handle this unknown space is that we have to be self-aware. You have to know yourself so deeply and so intently. And I don't mean just know, like, I don't like, I'm not a big fan of pizza, or I don't like peanut butter, I don't like banana. Those are all true about me. But when we talk about being aware, self-awareness is more conscious. It's more intuitive. And so I got the definition of self-aware, and then I have a definition by 2 psychologists that I thought was really profound for what self-awareness is. And like I said before, 2024 is a year of self-awareness for Universal T. So everything that I'm going to be doing, all the workshops, events, and things that I'm going to be facilitating are going to be centered around self-awareness, because I really don't think we can do anything until we are self-aware. Like Prophet Lauryn Hill said, how you gonna win when you ain't right within? So being self-aware means understanding what you are internally, good, bad, ugly, and knowing how to navigate those when you come up against those 4 T's. And drop the 4 T's in the chat, because I want to see if y'all remember. What are the 4 T's that I mentioned? But to be self-aware, the Oxford Dictionary definition is having conscious knowledge of one's own character and feelings. And I underline the word character because being self-aware does not just mean being aware of the things that are great about you. Character has flaws. Y'all have heard character flaws. Y'all have heard character traits, because not every character trait is a good one. Not every character trait is something that need to be enhanced. Some of them need to be altered. Some of them need to be analyzed. Some of them need to be changed. And then I was listening to Sarah Jakes Roberts, and I hope I can remember this because I had it like in my phone notes, but I don't have it right here in front of me. Your character traits are just an example, or just your character traits are what your deep-rooted beliefs are. They're directly related to your deep-rooted beliefs. And so I really had to think about that, because it sounded so simple, like character are deep-rooted beliefs. And I'm like, what? Okay, it makes sense. But then I really thought about it, and I was like, let's think about the character trait of lying, right? Like, why? Like, what is the deep-rooted belief that could be tied to that? And so when I think about it, for some people, it may be out of fear. Because if I name my truth as a kid, I would get in trouble. Or if I name my truth, or when I saw people name their truths when I was younger, they got judged harshly. Or, you know what I mean? And so thinking about character traits or character flaws, like, you really need to analyze you enough to know. Or naming my truth came with shame, or being, you know what I'm saying, being honest about certain things came with punishment. And so you really have to figure out what the deep-rooted belief is that you may not even know. You know what I'm saying? Happens. Why is it that I tend to run away from communicating? Why do I run away from direct conversation? Why do I not initiate those? The deep-rooted belief is going to be something that unlocks that. So it's not even the communication that I need to tackle. It's the fear of judgment, you know? And so as we go through this journey of self-awareness, and please be on the lookout for all things self-awareness with Universal Teas this year, but I'm really going to push everybody that is around me, everybody that's in these workshops and these programs and that I'll be coaching. I'm really pushing you to address and handle what is deep rooted. You have to become self-aware. And once you become self-aware, that is when you can start to change. That is when you start to grow. And that is when you start to break out of these cycles that are toxic to yourself. And that's when we start to see those breakthroughs, see people change their actions, see people become who they want to be. But self-awareness is going to be ugly. It's going to be uncomfortable. You're going to feel bad. You're going to experience shame. You're going to experience doubt. You're going to learn things about yourself like, I probably wouldn't rock with me either. You know what I'm saying? But it takes that. And I'm saying all of this like it's the most exciting thing. Like, yeah, you probably not going to like yourself for a couple sessions, but you have to. You have to step outside of yourself and become so aware that you're able to see yourself as the world does. And then I'm going to get you to realize how beautiful that can be, though. The beautiful things that the world sees about you that you may not even look at because you're not self-aware. So when we talk about self-awareness, it's not just uncovering the things that may need to change or develop differently within you. There are also some things that you need to be aware of that are beautiful, that the world sees about you. And you probably have people motivating you, telling you how brilliant you are, but until you believe it yourself, you can't do nothing with it. I'm going to make you aware of those things too. So when we talk about self-awareness, this is the conscious knowledge, not just the understanding or not just naming, but knowledge of your character and your feelings. But these two psychologists, Shelley Duvall and Robert Wicklund, they came up with this definition of self-aware, and I thought it was really beautiful. So they said it's the ability to focus on yourself, how your actions, thoughts, or emotions do or don't align with your internal standards. Let me read it again. The ability to focus on yourself and how your actions, thoughts, or emotions do or don't align with your internal standards. And so this made me think, I'm thinking about do or don't align with your internal standards. We love to say we got standards and boundaries. But are the things that we're doing, are the thoughts that we're having, are the actions that we're taking, the emotions that we're feeling, do those align with the standards that we say we have for ourselves? You really have to focus on yourself to uncover where the misalignment could be. When those thoughts, emotions, and actions don't line up with your internal standards, that's when you need to do something a little differently. But having the awareness is understanding that about yourself, knowing the difference between the things that you have and the things that you don't have yet. So we really have to learn to be self-aware, and a lot of self-awareness comes with the acceptance of being open. You have to completely be cracking yourself open without none of self-awareness comes from anyone else. It's a knowing of you, not knowing how other people operate. We love to say how intuitive we are. I'm a very intuitive person. I can say, I can tell that this is this and that person is that and they feel this way, but I need to take that same type of focus and put it on my internal standards to see if they align with how I live my life every day. That's self-awareness. Yeah. And so with those definitions, we know that handling this unknown space takes self-awareness, but it's important also because The middle is the unknown, and you must know yourself. You must know your values, and you must know your boundaries when you're on this journey from where you are to where you want to be, because all of those things are going to be tested. Your values are going to be tested. Your boundaries are going to be tested. Those standards that you have for yourself are going to be tested, and they're all going to be tested through trauma, tragedy, truth, and transitions. So you really need to get to know you. And that's not even just being able to say like, "Ooh, I'm upset. Let me go and take breaths." Like, no, I ain't talking about that. Let me take 10 deep breaths. No, that's just a temporary fix. That's a Band-Aid. That's like, I just got offended by somebody telling me a truth about myself. Let me figure out what trauma this is. Let me figure out why this is a part of my character. Let me figure out what is it that I have this deep-rooted belief in that causes me to be offended in this way. Taking 10 deep breaths, walking away from a situation is a Band-Aid for what really internally needs to be fixed. And that's what self-awareness is. That's the difference between self-awareness and what is it called when you manage yourself? Self-awareness and then like coping mechanisms. I don't want you to cope. I want you to heal. I don't want you to just cope. I want you to grow. I want you to change. I want you to improve. I want you to develop. Okay, to develop, the child to develop. And so those are what we need to know and understand about the middle. When we're committing to the middle, we're committing to the dirty work. And the dirty work is all internal. All the external things have no effect on changing you. They just affect you. Okay? All right. And so the middle is also where we get anxious, is because we worry about what we're gonna meet in the middle. We worry about the physical thing, like, oh, that person is gonna be the enemy. This situation is gonna be the enemy. These money problems are gonna take me out. We worry about the tangible things in the middle. That's where anxiety comes from. But if we already have a knowing and awareness of the 4 T's that are gonna show up, we not worried because that's deep rooted. That's internal. We figured out how to handle those. So the middle, all of these things are gonna happen. Tragedy is gonna happen. Transition's gonna happen. My truth is gonna be exposed. And then what did I say? Truth, tragedy, transition. What was the other one, y'all? Truth, tragedy, transition, and trauma. All of these things are going to show up. So let me figure out how to tackle those so that when they present themselves, I'm not really shook. I just got to go back to my handbook. I got to go back to my survival guide. Okay? And so this again is why self-awareness is important. It helps you to understand your reactions and plan your next moves. And not for people, but for you. Not the 10 breaths, not the count to 10, not the walk away, not that. But how do I handle tragedy? Who's in my corner to help me handle tragedy? Who's around to help me understand this trauma? What strategies do I have in place for when my truth is exposed? How do I name my truth? How do I stand up and honor my truth even when sometimes it's ugly? How do I turn my truth into a testimony? That's what you really need to figure out. You need to learn how to address the 4 T's because, like I keep saying, the battle isn't the physical exemplification of the T that you're facing. It's how it affects you internally. Okay? All right. So I'm going to wrap us up with this. When we're talking about getting from where we are to where we want to be, no, you should never lose sight of your vision. But what I want you to focus on is the step that's right in front of you. What is right in front of you as you transition through the middle? And you can't fulfill a vision without taking the first step. And the first step is always right in front of you. Okay? So with that being said, thank you all for joining me for another episode of Universal Teas. Like this video, comment, and subscribe. We'll be right back here next Tuesday for another episode. I love y'all. Bye.